4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in the pursuance to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as spiritual activity Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have a complete faith in chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachment even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success of Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Let us move on to our next part of the session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who all joined this morning?
हरे कृष्ण विनीता गंधर्विका माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रतिदास की नमस्कार हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna Priti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your association every day Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा नाइसा माता जी
Thank you Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvindaksha Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Arvindaksha Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining every day and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your sweet association every day and all glories to your services. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining every day and giving your sweet association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my... Go ahead Mataji.
That's okay, you can go ahead Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and to all the assembled devotees here. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your sweet association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shamagari Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your sweet association. Thank you so much for everything that you do for all of us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashamati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining every day, early morning and mid morning and giving us sweet association with your chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidas from Balaram.
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving your association. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for joining every day and giving your beautiful association with your wonderful chanting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam to you and all the assembled devotees. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
This is and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln. Mataji Prabhuji is on the call.
Yes, Mataji, I saw. Hare Krishna, Induleka Karuna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving us with association, and thank you for your wonderful services. Hare Krishna, welcome to the call. And Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day and giving us with association. Hare Krishna. So we will start the recording. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 18, verse 20. Before I hand over the call to Prabhuji, I would like to hand over it to Tiffany Mataji for a brief introduction. Hare Krishna Mataji, please take over.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhu is a brahmachari devotee connected to Istakhan Chowpatty. He completed his BE in metallurgical engineering from NIT Tirupali. I'm so sorry, I have a hard time saying that word, Tirupali, in 2002. Thereafter, he joined Pennsylvania State University and graduated with a PhD in material science in 2007. While at Pennsylvania State University, he took up Krishna consciousness as a member of the Penn State Vedic Society. Also at Penn State, he was mentored by His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhuji. After he moved back to India, he chose to become a full-time monk at Radha Gopinath Mandir. And in May of 2010, after his brahmachari training, he moved to Govardhan Eco Village and served full-time until December of 2021. He is currently in Chennai assisting his aged parents. He is an extremely erudite scholar of the Vaishnava scriptures, and he travels far and wide teaching these books. He is also currently engaged in teaching many of these books online. He is a disciple of His Holiness Rannath Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the call, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining and giving your wonderful association this morning. We are very fortunate to have you on the call. Please take over, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are discussing from 5th canto, 18th chapter, prayers offered by the residents of various varshas of Jambudvip. So today we are going to see the prayers offered by Mother Lakshmi. I think in Ramyaka Varsha, right? I'm sorry, I really forgot. I think it's in the Ramyaka Varsha. Mother Lakshmi is offering her prayers to Lord Rishikesh. So let's start. I will chant the Mangalacharan prayers. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Uravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. So Mother Lakshmi is offering her prayers, and this is a very sweet chapter, very beautiful prayers, and generally chapters which describe the prayers are very sweet, very, we can always relish them. So, okay, I will read the verse, read the translation and purport, and then we'll see what we can understand from this verse. Okay. So this is prayer offered by Mother Lakshmi. And this talks about who is the real husband. That is the theme. Who is the real husband? So she says, Savaipati syad akuto bayaswayam samantatappati bhayaturam janam sa ekaeve taratamito bhayam naivatmalabha adimanyate param. So he says, He alone who is never afraid, but who on the contrary gives complete shelter to all fearful persons, can actually become a husband and protector. So the husband and protector cannot be afraid, but he should be able to give fearlessness to everyone. Therefore, my Lord, you are the only husband, and no one else can claim this position. If you were not the only husband, you would be afraid of others. Therefore, persons learned in all Vedic literature accept only your lordship as everyone's master, and they think no one else a better husband and protector than you. That's why the Shastras say, Shriyapatir Yagyapatir Prajapatir Dhyampatir Lokapatir Dharapatir Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Patihi. So he is addressed as Shriyapati, the Lord of Mother Lakshmi. Shriyapatir Yagyapati. He is the Yagyapati, the Lord of Yagya, of all the sacrifices. Shriyapatir Yagyapatir Prajapati, he is the Lord of all the living entities. Dhyampati, he is the Lord of intelligence. So Rishikesha is the Lord of intelligence. Dhampatir Lokapatir, he is the Lord of all the planetary systems. Dharapati, including Mother Earth. Patir Gatischa Andaka Vrishni Satvatam. But he is the Pati and the Gati. He is the Lord and the goal of the Vrishnis, Andakas, and the Satvatas, of all the devotees. Prasidatam me Bhagavan Satam Pati. May that Lord, the master of all devotees, may he be pleased with me. Like that, Shukadeva Goswami offers this prayer. Right? So here, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, here, the meaning of husband or guardian is clearly explained. Here, the meaning of husband or guardian is clearly explained. People want to become a husband, a guardian, a governor, or a political leader without knowing the actual meaning of such a position. They may not even want to know. All they want is some money or some post and some glorification, right? But not the responsibility. There are many people all over the world, indeed, throughout the universe, who claim for some time that they are husbands, political leaders, or guardians. But in due course of time, the Supreme Lord desires their removal from their posts, and their careers are immediately finished. So it's only as long as the Lord allows, not beyond that. Right? Therefore, those who are actually learned and advanced in spiritual life do not accept any leader, husband, or maintainer other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the ultimate sense, of course, I mean, if those of you who are married need not go and tell your husbands that you are not my husband. I mean, it's not like that. But in the ultimate sense, it's only Krishna, because ultimately he can only give. So he is the husband of the wife, and he is the husband of the husband also in this material world. So if the husband says, "Oh, I am your husband," how can you have some other husband? You can tell that, no, Krishna is your husband also. He is not just my husband. He is everyone's husband, and we all are his wives. Right? Like that. Lord Krishna personally states in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami. I shall deliver you all sinful reactions. Krishna is not afraid of anyone. On the contrary, everyone is afraid of Krishna. Madbayad Vati Vatoyam Suryastapati Madbayad Varshati Indro Dahatyagnir Mrityuscharati Madbayad. And these kind of verses are very common. Even Bhagavatam, similar verse comes twice. And there are many other Vedic scriptures in which it is mentioned that how all the demigods literally are afraid of Krishna, and they are just um, uh, they are just performing duties under the guidance and permission of Krishna and out of fear of Krishna. Because anytime Srila Kapiladev says that if what is the context of this verse? Madbayad vati vatoyam. Under my fear, Vayudev allows the wind to flow. Surya stapati madbayad. Suryadev allows the sun to shine because of fear of me. And so on, and the other demigods. So Kapiladev says that what this means is that the context of this verse is that if I worship only Krishna and do not worship the demigods, will they not become angry upon me? And because they are the carriers of karma, they may carry some bad karma upon me. Will that happen? So Kapiladev says, how could you even get such a doubt? Madbayad vati vatoyam surya stapati madbayad. All these demigods are acting out of fear of me. If a devotee who has surrendered unto me, I become obliged to that person. I become completely dependent on that person. So if this demigod punishes my devotee because he has surrendered to me and because he is not worshipping them, I will not think twice before removing them from their positions and punishing them. So out of fear, in an angry mood, he says like that. So savai patisyad hi akuto bayam swayam. So he is pati who is not afraid, whereas everyone else is afraid of him. That is only Krishna. Therefore, he can actually give protection to a subordinate living entity. Since so-called leaders or dictators are completely under the control of material nature, they can never give complete protection to others, although they claim this ability due to false prestige. They say that, oh, we will protect everyone, full protection is guaranteed, but this is not at all possible, right? This is possible only for Krishna. So Prabhupada writes, Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnum. People do not know that real advancement in life consists of accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one's master. Right? That is real advancement. That is when we are sanata. Praharsha yishyami sanata jivitam. So when will I become joyful by accepting a master? If we don't accept a master, we are anatha, we are orphans. So the auspicious day in our life is when we become sanata from being anatha. We accept a father, a mother. Pitaham masya jagato mata data pitamaha. Vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yajurevacha, as Krishna says. So when we accept Krishna, he is willing to act in all these capacities. He is actually. The question is whether we accept him or not. The day we accept, we no longer feel that we are orphans. We actually have a father, we actually have a mother who can actually protect us. Otherwise, it is like, what is that? Atma sainsha satswapi tesham pramatto nidanam pashyavanapi na pashyati. Like that. These are just false soldiers who cannot really protect us. Instead of deceiving themselves and others by pretending to be all powerful, all political leaders, husbands and guardians should spread the Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone can learn how to surrender to Krishna, the Supreme Husband. He says, don't pretend to be all powerful political leader or husband or anything. The best thing that you can do is to spread the Krishna consciousness movement so that they can accept the real father, real husband, real protector. That is the best fair work that one can do, like that. So this is Prabhupada's beautiful purport. We will read one verse before this also, and then quickly see what we can learn. So in the previous verse, Mother Lakshmi said, because these two verses are connected, Striyo vrataistva rishikeshwaram swato yaradya loke patimasha yaradya loke patim asha satenyam tasam nate vai paripantyapatyam priyam danayum shiyato swatantraha. Worshipping you, O Rishikesh, the natural controller of the senses, by performing vows, women in this world ask for a husband other than you. People of this world, even now in many of these temples you go, even Vishnu temples, there are places where people who are aspiring to get a good husband, they go and offer their prayers, right? So they come to you, perform so much vows, and they come and ask not you as their husband, but someone else. The husbands cannot protect their children, wealth, or duration of life because they are dependent. But Savaipati syad akuto bayaswayam. Samanta tappati bayaturam janam. Since the Lord by nature has no fear, he protects all persons. He alone should be the husband. Otherwise, there is mutual fear. If he is not accepted as the Lord, if he is not accepted as the husband, then there is mutual fear. The wise do not accept anything better than attaining you. So when we accept Krishna as the Lord and the protector, Rakshishyati iti Vishwaso, then there is no fear. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his bhajan, he says, Atma Nivedan tuva pade kori hoinu parama sukhi. Dukkha dure gelo chintana rohilo chaudikke ananda deki. Atma Nivedan tuva pade kori. By completely surrendering unto your lotus feet, hoinu parama sukhi. So he says that I have become so happy. Dukkha dure gelo. All my miseries have gone. Chintana rohilo. There is no anxiety. There is no fear. Chaudikke ananda deki. In all four directions, I see nothing else but happiness or bliss. Like that. So, but if we don't accept Krishna as the husband, then there is fear. So here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary, he says that these women do not know the meaning of the word husband. How can a person who cannot protect himself protect another person, which is his wife? Okay. First of all, he should have no fear of anything. There is no one in this material world who can say this. You alone are that person. They take another meaning of husband. So they don't know the real meaning of husband. If only they knew the real meaning of husband, then they would not have accepted anyone else as their husband other than Krishna. Right? So, or itarata can have a locative sense, meaning in another case. So which means the meaning would be, in another case, all the leaders, protectors of citizens have fear of each other. Thus, the citizens have fear. That actually is not protection. Okay. So the people of this world, the leaders of this world, they are always fearful of other leaders who may be competitors. So if the leaders themselves show fear, then how can the citizens who are under them be fearless? How can they give fearlessness to people under them? Right? Like that. So he says, those learned in scriptures consider that there is no greater object than attaining Paramatma, which is you. All other attainments are not as great as attaining you. You actually are worthy of the word husband or protector. Savai patisyat hi akuto bayam swayam. Samantatappati bayaturam janam. Like that. So, so I got some feedback last time that the last session that last Bhakti Sangha class that I took was too technical. If you remember, we discussed on the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, and people said it was going over the head. We could, it was very technical. So today I decided I will not discuss much technical. So today we will just discuss some pastimes, for a change. So today we will discuss from, choosing a worthy husband. Okay. So we will discuss from the Samudra Manthan Leela how Mother Lakshmi chose her husband. Okay. So we will discuss this very, very sweet. There are a lot of similarities between the prayer that she is offering here and her own Swayamvara. So Swayamvara means where the girl chooses her husband. Okay. So I will have to rush through some of these sections because I have a lot of material to cover. And as usual, I will, I know that I'll not be able to complete, but still whatever I can complete, I'll try to complete today. So, so this is from the 8th canto, 8th chapter, 8th verse, 8.8.8. So in 8.8.8, Mother Lakshmi appears. So before that, many other things had appeared from the churning of the milk ocean. You all know this pastime which is there in the 8th canto. So I will not read through the verses. Some of the verses I will read, some of the verses I'll just read the translation. So it is mentioned that Tatascha avirabhut sakshat Shri Rama Bhagavat Para Ranjayanti Dishakantya Vidyut Saudamaniyata. So Tatascha avirabhut Rama. So then from the subsequent churning of the milk ocean, Rama appeared. Rama, who is Rama? Sakshat Shri, the embodiment of wealth. Okay. So there are two forms of Mother Lakshmi. Okay. One is the embodiment of wealth. Okay, which is attractive to people of this world. And the second is the wife of Lord Narayana. Okay, these are two forms. This form is attractive to practically everyone in this material world, but form is attractive only to the devotees. So he says, Tatascha avirabhut Rama Sakshat Shri, the embodiment of wealth, Bhagavat Para, who became more attractive than previously, Vidyut Saudamani Yata. Just as lightning arising from the crystal mountain becomes more attractive than previous lightning. So, Ranjayanti Dishak Kantya, she charmed the directions with her luster. Okay. So, then here it is mentioned that Rama means one who gives pleasure to the Lord. She appeared as the beloved wife of the Lord. She was superior in form than previous forms because this form was a direct expansion of all good fortune. Therefore, it was very attractive because both the demigods and demons, they wanted wealth. So it was very attractive. So then he says, the minds of the devatas, demons, and humans were not attracted to the greatness of her beauty, her bodily features, her youth, or her complexion. They all desired wealth from her. When Mohini Murti appeared, this is very interesting. When Mohini Murti appeared, the demons got attracted, devatas were not. And when Mother Lakshmi appeared, both the devatas and demons alike, they did not get attracted. but they just desired wealth from her. Okay. So it is mentioned by Srila Vishwanath Thakur. They became attracted to Lakshmi. Which Lakshmi form? We saw two Lakshmi form, right? The form of wealth just described, but not to the other form described in verse 25, which will come later, where she is described as the mother of the universe. Okay. So as the husband, as the wife of the Supreme Lord, she is also considered as the mother of the universe, and she is also the embodiment of all wealth. So they got attracted to that form, which was the embodiment of all wealth, but they did not get attracted to, they did not get attracted to the form that is described as a mother of the universe. Their minds were not attracted by the greatness of her beauty, nobility, youth, and complexion, since they all desired enjoyment of kingdom from her. That's all they wanted from her. So then, as soon as she appeared, Indra brought a great astonishing throne for her. All the rivers of sacred water personified brought pure water in golden water pots for Lakshmi. The earth collected all the herbs suitable for installing her. The cows delivered 5 products, namely milk, yogurt, ghee, urine, and cow dung, Panchagavya. And spring personified, the spring season personified, collected flowers and fruits from the months of Chaitra and Vaishak, April and May, in which very fragrant flowers actually come. Like all this mogra, jui, and jasmine, all the jasmine varieties, they generally come during April, May, that time. Very fragrant flowers come, at least in India, during summer season, but very colorful flowers generally come during winter season, which are generally not so fragrant. Then the sages performed the bathing ceremony as directed in the scriptures. The Gandharvas chanted auspicious prayers, and the dancers danced and sang. The clouds in personified form played drums, known as mridangas, panavas, murajas, anakas, and veenas, and blew conch, gomukas, and flutes, which made a tumultuous sound. So, and then it is described. Thereafter, the elephants of the directions bathed the personification of wealth, and the chaste form holding a lotus, who was dedicated to Vishnu, using full pots of water, purified by Vedic mantras chanted by the Brahmanas. So she was worshipped, she was given all sorts of paraphernalia, and in this way, she was like very wonderfully worshipped by all the demigods and the elephants of the 4 directions, the Ashtadigajas. They all came, and and then it is mentioned the ocean supplied the upper and lower portions of a yellow silken garment. It is mentioned generally that when great personalities, when they take bath, after that they wear yellow garments and then subsequently change to more colorful garments. Okay, so that was supplied by the ocean, personified ocean, the ocean devata. Varuna presented flower garlands surrounded by bees drunken with honey. Vishwakarma, the celestial carpenter, or you can, not carpenter, the celestial sculptor, you can say, one of the Prajapatis, supplied varieties of decorated ornaments. The goddess of learning Saraswati supplied a necklace. Lord Brahma supplied a lotus flower, and the inhabitants of Nagaloka supplied earrings. Thereafter, Lakshmi, eternally under the shelter of Narayana, began moving about. Tataha krita swastyayanotpalasrajam nadadvirepam parigrihya panina chachalavaktram sukapola kundalam savridahasam dhadati shushobanam. So tataha, thereafter, krita swastyayana, Lakshmi, who is eternally under the shelter of Narayana, chachala, she started moving about. Why did she move about? And he says, Utpala Srajam Panina. She was holding a lotus garland in her hand. Not only that, Parigrihya Nadad Dvirepam. Dvirepam means the bees. Bumblebees were buzzing around the lotus garland, which means the lotus garland was very fresh. And the bee buzzing around the lotus garland, and she was holding it in her hands. Savrida Hasam, with a very shy smile. Sukapola Kundalam, and her cheeks were decorated by beautiful earrings. Dadati Sushobhanam, she looked very exquisite and beautiful. So in this way, holding a garland, a lotus garland, fresh lotus garland in her hand, she was just moving about. For what purpose? Okay. So here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the Supreme Lord is the shelter of both forms of Lakshmi. Swastayana means she has as her abode the chest of Narayana, which is always auspicious. She always stays there. This has been accomplished from time without beginning. Krita Swastayana means since time immemorial, eternally she resides in the heart, in the chest of the Supreme Lord. Even though her reflection, which seems to be materially situated, gives wealth to Brahma and others, this form is also beyond the gunas and is actually spiritual wealth. So it is mentioned that the wealth that is given by Lakshmi and the wealth that is given by Maya are different. It is not the same. So this, we saw that there are two forms of Lakshmi. One who is the mother of this whole universe, Jagan Mata, which is the form which is the husband of wife of the Supreme Lord, and also there is this personification of wealth. But this personification of wealth is a reflection of the original Lakshmi. But this form is also not material. This form is also spiritual. This form is also spiritual and beyond the gunas. And the wealth that she bestows is actually spiritual wealth and not material wealth. So then it is mentioned that she eternally takes shelter of Narayana. She eternally takes shelter of Narayana. From time without beginning, she does not accept the material gunas and is naturally filled with prema. She is situated as the consort of Vishnu, giving him happiness in all his sins. Both forms are actually consorts of Vishnu. And one is the Jaganmata, another is the wealth personified. These two forms, actually it is mentioned where during the churning of the milk ocean, two forms appeared. These two forms appeared from the milk ocean and then became one. Okay. So the first form is the mother of the universe. And the second form is personification of wealth. So both the forms appeared from the milk ocean, from the churning of the milk ocean. But after that, they merged into one. Okay. She moved about to select Narayana as her eternal consort. But in a Swayamvara, everyone has to be considered. You cannot, you have to see who is the most suitable person, right? You have to evaluate everyone. Everyone has to be evaluated to see, who is most qualified to for Mother Lakshmi to accept as her husband, right? So then her form is described, right? It is mentioned that her two breasts, which were symmetrical with no space between, were covered with sandalwood pulp and kumkum powder, and her waist was very thin. As she walked through the assembly, her ankle bells jingling softly, she appeared like a moving creeper of gold. Her form is described. Then it is mentioned, Vilokayanti niravadyamaatmanah padam dhruvam cha vyabhichari sadgunam Gandharva Siddha Surayaksha Charana Traipishta Peya Dishunana Vindata Nanvadata. So Vilokayanti. Vilokayanti literally means seeing, but seeing means she was examining. So she was examining whom? Traipishtapeya Adishu. Traipishtapeya means Traipishtapanam api dura darshanam. Traipishtapa is the heaven. So she was examining all the heavenly denizens like the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the demons, Siddhas, Charanas, and Devatas. Adishu means etc. The Devatas and all the others. Na Nanva Vindata, na Anuvindata, Niravadya Matmana. But amongst them, she could not find even a single person who was faultless. Padam Dhruvam, who was the eternal shelter, and Avyabhichari Sadgunam, and who were fixed with auspicious qualities. So she could not find anyone who was faultless, okay, who could act as eternal shelter, okay, and were fixed with auspicious qualities. Not a single person. Okay. Really, not a single person she could find. So he says, of the two forms of Lakshmi which merged together, the form of wealth made a show of selecting a suitable husband with excellent qualities. Just as in other Swayamvaras, the bride considers the good and the bad qualities of the contenders in order to show to all people the superiority of Vishnu above all others. So even, how can one may say Lakshmi is the eternal consort of Lord Hari? How could she participate in a Swayamvara where she is going to choose a husband? She says, no, of the two forms, the form which is the personification of wealth, she also made a show of selecting a suitable husband. The Jagannatha form, the superior form, she did not participate in the Swayamvara. And the Swayamvara was also an eyewash. This was all fixed. This was just to show who is the supreme person in this world. Okay. So she did not find shelter among them. That shelter should be without a fault, eternal, and having qualities permanently fixed, which are most auspicious. The living entities do not even have a body, which is eternal. How can they have qualities? Because the qualities that we have are qualities of the body only, and the body is temporary. So if the body is temporary, how can the qualities be eternal? Ichcha dvesha sukham dukkham sangatas chetanadriti etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam, as Krishna says in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham, all these things are qualities, and Vikaras are the transformations of the subtle body. The gross and subtle body are both either temporary and transforming. So none of these qualities can be eternal, right? Because these are all qualities of the temporary material body, right? So then, how is it that she could not find even a single person who was qualified? What was her problem? What was her problem? What was her observation? She says, Nunam tapo yasya namanujirjayo jnanam kvachit tachana sanga varjitam kaschin mahamstasya nakama nirjayah sa ishvara kim parato vyapashrayah. She thinks, Nunam tapo, oh, this person is a very austere person. She saw. But then she saw, Yasya na manyu nirjayo. Oh, he's so austere, but he has not conquered anger. Because practicing too much austerity without, uh, rather than developing that austerity as a byproduct of bhakti actually makes the heart very hard. And the symptom of a hard heart is anger. Nonam tapo yasya namanyu nirjayo. This person certainly is very austere. Maybe I should consider him. He said, oh, but he has not conquered his anger. No, no, no. Whom is he thinking about? Durvasa and others cannot control anger. Thus, their austerity is useless. Then she says, Jnanam kvachit tachana sangavarjitam. Or some have knowledge, like Brihaspati. He has so much knowledge. Maybe I should consider him. He says, Nasangavarjitam. He has not given up attachment. He still wants remuneration from the devatas. So she says, some persons like Brihaspati have knowledge, but it is not without material attachment. Therefore, it is useless, she thinks. Then she moves ahead. Kaschin mahams tasya na kama nirjayah. Kaschin mahams. Some people have lot of power. Tasya na kama nirjaya. They have so much power. Maybe I should consider them. Oh, but they have not controlled their lust. Whom is she talking about? Some people like Brahma have great power, but they also have lust. Thus, their greatness is useless. Like that she was thinking. And then she says, Saishvara kim parato vyapashrayah. How can a person without shelter from enemies? Saha kim parato vyapashrayah ishvarasyat. How can a person who does not have any shelter from enemies, like Indra always runs to the Supreme Lord for seeking shelter. So how can such a person who does not have shelter from enemies, how can he be an Ishwar? How can persons like Indra who became without shelter from enemies be the Supreme Lord? So she thought, no good, it has to be rejected. She moves forward. Then she sees, Dharma kvachit tatra na bhuta sauhridam, tyaga kvachit tatra na mukti karanam, Viryam na pumsosti ajavega nishkritam, nahidvitiyo guna sanga varjitah. Dharma kvachit. She saw, oh, these people are this person is so religious. But what is the use of his religiosity? Na bhutasudam. He is not at all friendly to the living beings, right? So she is talking about Shukracharya and others like him. The karmis like Shukracharya have dharma. They are dharma kvachit, but are not friendly to all beings since they are interested in material facility, such as being a priest for the demons. Thus, their dharma is useless. So she says, at least let someone have one quality without a fault. Dharma kvachit tatra na bhuta sauhridam. Tyaga kvachit tatra na mukti karan. She says, Tyaga kvachit. Some people are willing to sacrifice their wealth or give in charity. Na mukti karanam. But they are not indulging in that charity for the purpose of achieving liberation. So she's talking about people like Daksha. Some give in charity like Daksha, but they are not interested in liberation. Thus, their charity is useless. She says, then, Viryam Pumsa, some people have wealth. Na asti ajavega nishkritam. But they cannot stop the attack of time. Like the of Shumba and Nishumba. They were very powerful demons, but they could not stop the force of time. Eventually they were brothers who killed each other and died, getting attracted to a woman. So they have powerful strength. No one could defeat them except themselves. But still, they could not overcome the influence of time. So she thought, no. Then she says, Gunasanga Varjita. She observed some people are actually devoid of attraction to material and spiritual qualities, like the Gyanis, perfected Gyanis. They have no attraction to material and spiritual qualities. So if you are not attached to material and spiritual qualities, how can you be a companion? Okay. Because if they have no attraction to material and spiritual qualities, then why would they get attracted to Mother Lakshmi? And how can you accept someone as a husband who is not attached to you? So she was thinking about Kumaras. She says, so, and people like Kumaras, some are detached from all material and spiritual qualities like the Kumaras, but they cannot be suitable companions because her spiritual form and fragrance would be useless for them. For them, oh, the spiritual form of Lakshmi, no attraction. Spiritual fragrance, no attraction. Her sweet spiritual speech, no attraction. Okay, what is the use? He says no. Then she moves ahead with the garland. So all this is going on in her mind while she is taking the walk, when she's taking this long walk to choose a suitable husband, right? Then Kvachichirayur nahi shila mangalam क्वचित् तदप्यस्ति न वेद्यमायुषः यत्रोभयं कुत्र च सोऽप्यमङ्गल सुमङ्गल कश्चन काङ्क्षते हि माम्. He says, क्वचित् चिरायुर. Oh, people have such a long life. But what? Nahi Sheela Mangalam. Sheela is qualities or behavior. Mangalam. But they don't have any auspicious behavior or qualities. She's talking about Bali. Some like Bali have long life but do not have good conduct or auspiciousness. Right? By having a demon nature, their conduct is not proper. They are without auspiciousness by being the enemy of Indra. You see, why this clarification? Because it is speaking about Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj was a devotee. Why is she considering that Bali Maharaj does not have auspicious conduct? Because he was a demon. He was born in a demoniac family, so therefore some traces of the demoniac things will be there. And their auspiciousness, why is he inauspicious? Because for you, Indra is the enemy. So by making enemies with Indra, it is inauspicious, right? So then he says, Kvachit tadapyasti navedyam ayushaha. Kvachit tadapi asti. Some have both. Okay. Some have long life and auspicious qualities. Sorry. Some have both pious and auspicious qualities. Na vedyam ayushaha. But they may not have long life. So Bali Maharaj has long life but no pious or auspicious qualities. Okay. Some have pious and auspicious qualities, but they don't have long life. So who are they? Some like the sons and daughters of Manu have proper conduct and auspicious qualities, but they do not have long life since they are human. They have to die. Then he says, Yatra Ubayam. But you know what? Some people actually have long life and pious qualities. They may have piety. Kutracha saha api amangala, but they do not have auspicious quality. So three things: long life, piety, and auspicious qualities. Some have long life like Bali Maharaj, but they do not have piety or auspicious qualities. Some have both pious and auspicious qualities like the Manus and Manuputras, but they do not have long life. Some have long life and piety, but they do not have auspicious qualities. Who are they? So where there is good conduct and long life as in Lord Shiva, there is inauspicious action such as living where the dead bodies are burned. She considered even Lord Shiva, but she said, piety is there, long life is there, well, but actions are not so auspicious, so therefore it's not very attractive to me. So then she says, Sumangala kaschana kankshate himam. So he says, the person with actual auspicious qualities does not care for me. This is actually the so she has scanned everyone. There is no one who would fit her criteria. But then finally she says, the person who fits my criteria does not care for me. That's what she says. She then indicates the Lord with the word Sumangala, most auspicious. The faults are by their nature inauspicious. The good qualities, because they are material, are temporary and thus inauspicious. Thus, all those faults and good qualities are inauspicious. Okay. The faults are by nature inauspicious. The good qualities be good, but they are temporary. Therefore, they are inauspicious. So, material good qualities or material faults are both inauspicious, right? After pointing out faults in each type of person, she then points out a fault which indicates praise for Vishnu. So, is Vishnu without any fault? He says no. There is one fault. What is that? He does not care for me. But it is actually an indirect glorification. He who has actual auspiciousness does not care for me. Disregard for all things is here considered a great quality. As the Lord says in the second canto, that, Srijami tapasai vedam, grasami tapasa punaha, vivarmi tapasa vishwam, viryam me dushcharam tapaha, he says. So he says that Srijami tapasai vedam, my dear Lord Brahma, the Lord speaks to Brahmaji. He says, Srijami tapasai vedam, I create because of tapasya. Grasami tapasa punaha, I destroy because of my being endowed with the power of tapasya. Bhivarmi tapasa vishwam, and I maintain this whole universe because of tapasya. Viryam me dushcharam tapaha, my complete potency is coming from intense austerity. So what is this tapasya? Tapasya is detachment for the Supreme Lord, because he knows that after creating this, he only has to destroy it. In how much time? In the time that it takes for him to inhale. Hardly a moment. He has to destroy the whole universe. But still, he creates it. This is detachment. He's totally detached. Okay. So, but this is a great quality. So detachment is one of the 6 qualities of the Supreme Lord, for which he is called as Bhagavan, right? So then it is said, I'm sorry. Evam vimrishya vyabhichari sadgunay varam nijaikashrayata yuga gunashrayam vavrevaram vagunairapekshitam ramamukundam nirapeksham. Evam vimrishya. In this way, after deep deliberation, avyabhichari sadgunay, because he had sadguna, all auspicious qualities, which were avyabhichari, which were not transient but fixed in him, nija eka ashrayataya, and he was actually independent. Therefore, Rama, the goddess of fortune, Vavre Varam, accepted as her husband, Mukundam Varam Ipsitam, as the excellent, most desirable Mukunda she accepted as her husband. Sarva Gunair Apekshitam, endowed with all good qualities, Agunashrayam, with no material qualities, Nirapeksham, and who was not dependent on her. Nirapeksham, right? Because for the master to be dependent on the servant is not good, actually. So that is not a very good. The master-servant relationship is not necessary. Should not ideally be one of mutual dependence. The servant should always be dependent on the master, but the master has choice to choose his servants, like that. So therefore she found this, even though this sounds like actually a inauspicious quality or a fault, but in actuality is glorification, right? So considering in this way, Rama selected Mukunda as her husband. But the question arises, but if he is indifferent to her, she should also be indifferent to him. So she says, how can I be indifferent to him? He is endowed with all qualities such as mystic power of anima. She thought as follows. So she was thinking, even though the Lord is by nature indifferent, he does not neglect his mystic powers, though they are dependent on him. Similarly, he will not neglect me, though he is indifferent. He will not neglect me. I can be successful by serving him. What is the use of material persons? He thought, look, is the Lord dependent on his potencies? No. But because he is not dependent on his potencies, does he reject those potencies? No. He has them. He keeps them. So similarly, if he is not dependent, he may not be dependent on me, but he will not reject me. That is my hope. Mother Lakshmi says, let him be indifferent to me, but at least he will not reject me. So therefore, I can be successfully serving him. I am dependent on him. I need his service. I am attracted to him. If I get to serve him, I will be happy. He need not be attracted to me. He need not be dependent on me. But let him at least engage me in his service. Otherwise, what is the use of serving all these material persons? Kvachit chirayur nahishila mangalam. They have something not. And whatever something they have also, it's all material and temporary. So therefore, there is no point choosing them as the, choosing them as my husband. I choose the Supreme Lord Mukunda. So he says, he is the best, having the best qualities which are eternal. Avyabhichari sadgunai. They are not transient qualities, they are fixed qualities. He is without material qualities. And I accept him because he is his own shelter. Nija eka ashrayataya. Because he is his own shelter, I will accept him. Okay. So then, in this way, Mother Lakshmi has accepted the Supreme Lord Narayana as her husband. The same way here in this episode, we are seeing the prayers offered by Mother Lakshmi. Savai patisyad hyakuto bayam swayam. Like that. So she has rejected all others and she has now chosen the Supreme Lord. Then she placed upon his shoulders the beautiful garland of newly grown lotus flowers, which was surrounded by humming bumblebees searching for honey. He remained standing by his side with a shy smile and flashing eyes, and then attained her shelter on his chest. So in this way, she attained her master, like that. So now, and then so on, we will move ahead. So now, the Supreme Lord is the only master. But amongst all the Supreme Lords, amongst all the Vishnu Tattva, Krishna is the perfect husband. Okay. We will try to understand this based on Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Brihad Bhagavatamrita. We will discuss a short episode from Brihad Bhagavatamrita to understand how Krishna is the perfect husband. You can say, isn't Lord Narayana the perfect husband? Yes, he is, but Krishna is most perfect husband. So, Purna Purnatara Purnatama. So Narayana is complete. Okay. Krishna in Dwaraka is more complete, but Krishna of Vrindavan is most complete. So if someone wants a complete husband, they can accept Narayana. But if someone wants nothing less than the most complete husband, then they have to accept Krishna. So let's see what Srila Rupa Goswami says. So in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami describes, at one stage he describes different types of mukti, and he says that of all the different types of mukti, prema is the topmost. If you desire to establish a relationship with Krishna or Krishna or any of the Vishnu Tattvas in one of the five as, he says that is the topmost. There is nothing higher than that. That is a topmost form of liberation. Then, after establishing prema to be the topmost, so those prema bhaktas, he calls them harau ekantinaha. Harau ekantinaha means those who have no other desire other than establishing a relationship with the Supreme Lord. So now, then he makes a comparison between the prema bhaktas. Okay. So he says that, just hold on for a second. He says, Tatrapi ekantinam sreshta govinda hritamanasaha yesham shrisha prasadopi manohartum na shaknuyam. He says that Tatrapi ekantinam, amongst all the prema bhaktas, Govinda Hrita Manasa, one whose heart has been stolen by Govinda, Shreshta, he is the best. Shrisha Prasadopi, even the kindness of Lord Narayana and the other forms of Krishna, Yesham Mano Hartum Nashatnyat, it cannot steal their hearts. Now, what is the meaning of Govinda? So Govinda refers to Krishna, right? So, but on a deeper level, Govinda refers to Krishna, the Lord of Gokula, because Govinda also means one who gives pleasure to the cows, right? And cows are there in Vrindavan. So Govinda Hrita Manasa means those whose hearts have been stolen by Govinda. On one level, it refers to Krishna's devotees. Okay. On a deeper level, it refers to Vraja Krishna's devotees, because Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the cows, and cows are there in Vrindavan. On a still deeper level, if you see, Govinda Hrita Manasa refers to the gopis. Tatrapi ekantinam sreshta Govinda Hrita Manasa. Of all the prema bhaktas, he says Krishna's devotees are the best, and amongst Krishna's devotees, the Vrajavasis are the best, and amongst the Vrajavasis, the gopis are the best. Now, how did you say that the meaning of the word Govinda, Govinda Hrita Manasa, why should it refer to the gopis? So he says, he quotes the verse from Kunti Maharani's prayer, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Kunti Maharani is thinking, who are great devotees who are more fortunate than me? So she says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya. She says, well, I also have parental affection towards Krishna, Vatsalya Prem towards Krishna. But Vasudeva was very fortunate because he actually had Krishna as his son. So Krishnaya Vasudevaya. But more fortunate than Vasudeva is Devaki. Devaki Nandanaya Cha. Because she gave shelter to Krishna in her own body. So definitely she is more fortunate. Then she thought, actually, Nandagopa Kumaraya, Nanda Maharaj is still more fortunate because he got to experience the childhood pastimes of Krishna. But whereas Devaki and Vasudeva did not. And finally she said, Govindaya Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Govinda. But Govinda means, if you see the Bhauma Leela, Krishna received this name Govinda from Surabhi after the Govardhan Leela, when Krishna Abhishek was performed for Krishna, Indra performed Abhishek, Surabhi performed Abhishek, and after that she gave the title of Govinda to Krishna. And that was the day when Krishna moved from Pauganda to Kaishora. Pauganda to Kaishora. So Pauganda is still 11 years and Kaishora is beyond 11 years for Krishna. So Pauganda Avastha is when he mostly plays with the Gopa friends. And Kaishora Avastha is when he actually performs pastimes with the gopis. So therefore, because he receives the name Govinda at the time of after the Govardhan Leela, when he is entering into the Kaishora Avastha, therefore Govinda Hrita Manasa, those whose hearts have been stolen by Govinda, refers to the gopis. So therefore, Tatrapi Ekantinam Sreshta Govinda Hrita Manasa means, of all the Prema Bhaktas, the gopis whose hearts have been stolen by Krishna in his Kaishora Avastha, they are the greatest. Okay. Savai Patisyad Hyakuto Bayaswayam. He is the real Pati for them. Yesham Krishat Srisha Prasadopi Manohartum Nashuknayat. So even the sweetness of Lord Narayana and even the Lord of Dwaraka does not steal their heart. Okay. So he says the word Shrisha, meaning the Lord of the spiritual sky, Narayana, also includes Krishna in his form as the Lord of Dwaraka. Okay. So he says that, but in one sense he says, Siddhantastu abedepi Shrisha Krishna Swarupayoho Rasenot Krishyate Krishna Rupam Esha Rasastiti. Siddhantastu abhedepi Shri Krishna Swarupayoho. So according to the Siddhanta, there is no difference between the forms of Krishna and Lord Narayana, Vishnu and Narayana. But Rasena Utkrishyate Krishna Rupam. But if you consider the rasa, then Krishna's form is certainly superior. Because it is endowed with the highest type of prema. Yesha rasastitihi. The very nature of his rasa show that Krishna's form is superior. Okay. So, how do we know this? Krishna means here Krishna of Vrindavan, especially Krishna of Vrindavan in his Kaishora Avastha. Okay. So, the queens of Vrindavan. So these prayers, I am not going to quote the prayers, just a translation quickly because we don't have time. So the queens, other than the principal 8 queens who are satisfied with their relationship with Krishna, describe the supreme attractiveness of Krishna's form during the pilgrimage to Kurukshetra. So the prayers that we are going to read now are the prayers offered by out of the 16,108 queens, there were 8 principal queens, Rukmini, Satyabhama, Kalindi, and so on. Apart from those 8 queens, the 16,100 queens offered these prayers. Okay. They understood the superiority of the Vrajavasis. So what did they say? They said, O saintly woman, we do not desire dominion over the earth, the sovereignty of the King of Heaven, unlimited facility for enjoyment, mystic power, the position of Lord Brahma, immortality, or even attainment of the kingdom of God. We simply desire to carry on our heads the glorious dust of Lord Krishna's feet, enriched by the fragrance of kumkum from his consort's bosom. We desire the same contact with the Supreme Lord's feet that the young woman of Vraja, the aborigine Pulinda woman near the grass, and the cowherd boys tending the cows desire the touch of the dust. So they see that we are queens, no doubt. But this love of the Vrajavasis, I think I would consider myself more fortunate. We would consider ourselves more fortunate than to even have the association of Krishna in Dwaraka. We would find ourselves more fortunate to actually have the dust from that has touched the body of this Pulinda woman, just aborigine woman of Vrindavan. They have more love for Krishna than us, which means the attractiveness of Krishna of Vrindavan and the love of the Vrajavasis, especially gopis, is much more than our love. They understood, they glorified. Therefore, it is mentioned that actually this the Gaudiya Vaishnavas considered the 16,100 queens as the principal queens and the 8 queens as secondary queens. So the 8 queens, according to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the 8 queens are secondary. The 16,100 queens are the primary queens because they understood the supremacy of the Vrajavasis' love for Krishna. So that is the point that is mentioned here. Then, and of course, not only that, the scriptures describe the desire of Lakshmi, most famous amongst women, but even she was not qualified according to Kaliya's wives. The Nagapatni said, "O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya has attained this great opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows, but still she could not attain." Okay, so but Kaliya was more fortunate. In Vrindavan, even the demons get more fortune than goddess of fortune. Demons are more fortunate. Demons of Vrindavan are more fortunate than even the goddess of fortune. So that is the mercy of Krishna of Vrindavan, right? So at least they considered Vraja as a worthy place to come and have a combat with Krishna. Okay, they at least considered themselves as demons of Vrindavan. But Lakshmi would not want to consider herself as a maid servant of Vrindavan. But still she wanted the association of Krishna. Krishna said, no, if you are a Brajavasi, if you have appreciation for Braja, or at least consider yourself as a demon of Vrindavan, I will give you mercy. But if you don't consider, if you do not have a sense of belonging to Vrindavan, no, because Vrindavanam parityajya padam ekam na gacchati. You want to marry me and take me out of Vrindavan? I will not even let you inside Vrindavan. Krishna says, no, you keep on performing your austerities. Good luck. Like that. So, tatrapi ekantinam shreshta govinda hritamara yesham shrisha prasadopi manohartum na shaknuyat. Right? Uddhava also said the same thing. The goddess of fortune herself, along with Lord Brahma and all the other demigods who are the masters of yogic perfection, can worship the lotus feet of Krishna only with her mind. But during the Rasa dance, Lord Krishna placed his feet upon the gopis' breasts, and by embracing those feet, the gopis gave up all distress. But Brahmaji and even the goddess of fortune only, prayed for perfection. They worshipped Krishna within their mind, but they could not physically worship. But the gopis of Vrindavan, they were the most fortunate. Tatrapi ekantinam sri govinda hritamanasa. So the gopis are the greatest, and Krishna of Vrindavan is the most you can say, the fittest husband, the most perfect husband, right? So let's have a small discussion from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I know I am running short of time, but still, this is a beautiful section. This comes in the first volume, 5th chapter, the conversation between Narada Muni and the Pandavas. Okay. So Narada Muni is on a journey to find out who is the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. So he starts his journey from planet Earth in the holy place of Prayag. So he finds a Brahmana whom he thinks is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. He goes and glorifies that Brahmana. That Brahmana says, I am the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. You go to South India and find king. You will find all the glorious qualities in him. In my opinion, he is the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. Narada Muni goes there. So then he sends him to Indra. He said, oh, I am not the greatest recipient. You go to Indra. So Indra, the Lord personally comes to receive the oblations from Indra. He is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. He goes to Indra. Indra is embarrassed. He says, mercy and Indra, what is the connection? Narada, you should know better. Your father is the greatest recipient. Go to Brahmaji. So he goes to Brahmaloka. Okay. I'm cutting the short story, long story short. Of course, these are like many chapters. This is described, the beautiful discussions, beautiful conversations. But we don't have time. We will take one small part of the conversation. Then Brahmaji says, I am the recipient of mercy. No way. Go to Lord Shiva. He is the greatest recipient of mercy. Then Lord Shiva sends him to Prahlad Maharaj in Sutal Loka. He said, go to Prahlad. Prahlad is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And Prahlad says, well, I don't see any reason why I should be considered the greatest recipient when someone like Hanumanji is there. So you should go to the Kim Purusha Loka where Hanumanji is worshipping Lord Ram. And you will be very happy to meet him. And he is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. He says, fine. Hanumanji is embarrassed. How could you say that I am the greatest recipient? Don't you know the Pandavas? They are the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. So go and meet the Pandavas. So now Narada Muni is with the Pandavas. Of course, the Pandavas guide him to the Yadus, and the Yadus guide him to Uddhava. Uddhava guides him to the Vrajavasis, and Narada Muni's search ends there with the Vrajavasis. Anyway, so right now this conversation is between the Pandavas and Narada Muni, and I am going to take only very few verses from there and some wonderful commentary by Srila Sanatana Goswami himself. I don't know if you will have time to cover, but whatever we can cover, we will cover. Okay. So here, so he says, this is Narada Muni glorifying Krishna. Yo Brahma Rudradi Samadhi Durlabo Vedokti Tatparya Vishesha Gocharaha Shriman Nrasimha Kilava Manascha Shri Raghavendropi Yadam Sharupaha. So he says, Brahma Rudradi, even great demigods like Brahma, Rudra, etc. Yaha Durlabaha. Even for great demigods like Brahma and Rudra, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. They may understand Vishnu, Lord Narayana, but to understand Krishna is Durlabha. Samadhi, even in their deepest stages of meditation, it is difficult for them to understand who is Krishna. In fact, he says, Gocharaha, he can be known. You know how? Vedokti. He can be known through the words of the Vedas, the Vedic scriptures. But how? Tatparya Vishesha. Only one who can understand the special purport of the Vedic literatures they can understand Krishna through the Vedic words. Otherwise, they cannot. The special purport is when those acharyas who have been inspired and in whose heart Krishna's mercy has fallen, they can write such special purport. So which means he is indicating that in the Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara, Vedokti Tatparya Vishesha Gochara, if you can understand the special purport of the Vedas, then you can come to the conclusion that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. But if not, if you know the regular purport, then you can understand Narayanastu Bhagavan Swayam. Till that position you can understand. But to understand how Krishna is the source of all, you should know the special purport of the Vedas. Shriman Nrsimha Kila Vamanascha. Shriman Nrsimhadev, Vamanadev, Lord Ramachandra are all his plenary expansions. Like that he says. Okay, I will read only some sections of the purport also, because purport is long and we don't have time to complete. He says the supremely charming transcendental person Sri Krishna is difficult to understand. Great demigods may know his supremacy theoretically, but they cannot begin to taste Krishna Prem. Even though all the Vedic texts are ultimately descriptions of Sri Krishna, no doubt about it, yet his all attractive charm is not obvious in the literal meaning of the Vedic mantras, nor in their ritualistic explanations. Can one understand Krishna's supremacy through the Vedas? Yes, it is possible. Otherwise, what is the purpose of the Vedas? But you can use the words of the Vedas to understand the supremacy of Krishna only if someone is qualified to give special purport to the Vedas. One must discover the secret purport of the Vedas, which is possible only by the mercy of Sri Krishna's pure devotees. Okay, that is why Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says that Yadicher Avasam Brajabhuvi Saragam Pratijanur Yuvadvandvam Tachet Paricharitu Marad Abhilashe Swarupam Shri Rupam Saganamiha Tasyagrajamapi Sputam Premna Nityam Smaranama Tadatvam Shrunumana. So he says that, my dear mind, if you desire residence in Vrindavan eternally, and Yadicher Abasam Brajabhuvi Saragam, and if you wish to live there with the kind of love that is possessed by the Vrajavasis, and stay there and serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, then there is only one way. Swarupam Shri Rupam Saganamiha Tasyagrajamapi. Okay, you have to take shelter of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, and all their followers. What is the meaning of taking shelter of them? It means taking shelter of their writings. What is so special about their writings? Vedokti Tatparya Vishesha Gochara. Because they know the special purports of the Vedic texts. They know the special purports. And through those special purports, actually you can understand the by those special purports you can understand the supremacy of Krishna, not otherwise, right? Okay, anyway, we will have to rush now. I don't want to take too much time. So then he says all other incarnations of Godhead expand from mere portions of his plenary portions. Great gods like Brahma considered his material opulences, and material nature is his maidservant. Standing always in view, ready to serve him, she enacts the creation, protection, and destruction of this universe. She is talking about Krishna. Okay. Then, few verses later, he says that I will just read the summary here. Okay. Only sometimes Garga and others have revealed the secret identity of Krishna. Even Lord Narayana is only equal in parts to Krishna. So Gargacharya, so he gives an example of what is this Vedokti Tatparya Vishesha Gochara? What is this special purport that you're talking about? He says, look, I will give you one example of special purport. He says that Kasmin api vivikte nibritam, only in some confidential meetings, Pragyavarer, the very wise sages like Gargacharya, Yah Prakashate, they divulge who Krishna really is. But he divulged it in such a way that even Nanda Maharaj could not understand. Because he was covered by Yogamaya. Yogamaya covered him so that he could not understand. Not that he was not qualified to understand, but if he understood, then Krishna would not relish Nanda Maharaj's association. So therefore, he was covered. Asau Bhagavan Narayana Anena Samyam. He whom the personality of God at Narayana is only partly equals, and no one else even coming close. If even Lord Narayana is only partly equals Krishna, then all the other avatars don't even come close. Okay. So of course, there is a big purport. I don't know what to read and what not to read. Anyway, I will just move ahead. So he says, Gargamuni only tactfully alluded. He just gave an indirect reference or suggestion to Krishna's supremacy. He said that Krishna and the Supreme Lord Narayan are equal in some ways. Okay, only in some ways they are equal. These words imply that although Narayana is like Krishna in the sense of also being the source of all incarnations and having a divine body, the Lord of Vaikuntha is not equal to Krishna in all the respects. Rasena utkrishyate Krishna rupam esha rasastiti, as Srila Rupa Goswami says. If you consider the rasa, if you consider Siddhanta, both may be same, but if you consider rasa, the form of Krishna is certainly very superior. So then he says, okay, I will read only some sections. Only Lord Narayana equals Krishna in some respects. The secondary expansions of God do not even begin to equal Krishna. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Ityadi, they don't even begin to equal Krishna. Even if Lord Narayana equals Krishna only in some respects. Okay. And what to speak of the Purusha avatars, they also certainly do not, that they say, Etan Nanavataranam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. This Purusha is the source and the indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations. But in spite of belonging to the exclusive category of avatari, because they are the source of many avatars, the Purusha avatars does not display all attractive, supremely sweet pleasure pastimes like Sri Krishna. They perform only Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. There is nothing else that they do. So even though they can, in one sense, they can also be secondarily called as the avatari, because many avatars emanate from them. But their pastimes are not so attractive. So we were discussing Lakshmi Devi's Swayamvara, where she chose Narayana. But if there is a Swayamvara between all the Vishnu forms, including Krishna, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Narada Muni is not performing that Swayamvara, he is not going to marry, but he wants to know who is the greatest, which is the greatest form. I mean, who is the greatest recipient, and of course he sees that of the Lord's mercy are Krishna's devotees in Vrindavan, right? Like that. Anyway, so he says, only Narayana in Vaikuntha exhibits personal pastimes somewhat resembling Krishna's, but the Leelas of Vaikuntha cannot match the charm and intimacy of Krishna's sports in Goloka Vrindavan. It is not possible. Okay. So, and then he makes this point that Aho Shrunuta Purvam tu keshanchit adhikarinam anena diyamano bhut mokshah stitir iyam sada. Very interesting point. He says, Aho Shrunata, my dear Pandavas, please hear me. Purvam tu, before Krishna appeared, when many other avatars appeared, anena diyamanaha abut. Krishna gave moksha, the gift of liberation, keshanchid adhikarinam, only to a few qualified people. Iyam stitir sada. This has been the rule always, that not, don't make liberation cheap. Not everyone gets liberation. Okay. So he says, so he gives some examples. Kalanemi, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and others. He says, so very few people got liberation. And when it comes to the demons who were killed by the various incarnations, he said they did not get liberation. So, Hatari Gatidayakatvam, one of the 5 qualities which are there in all Vishnu forms, but it's not there in Lord Shiva. It is there in all Vishnu forms and it is there in Krishna, is Hatari Gatidayakatvam. When they kill a demon or an enemy, that enemy, even though unqualified, gets a higher destination. But that higher destination is never liberation when any other incarnation kills the demon. When Krishna kills, they achieve liberation. Okay. Who says this? Narada Muni himself says in Brihad Bhagavatam. Okay. He says, otherwise, how is it that Kalanemi, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna and others, they were killed by Narasimhadev, Varahadev, Lord Ramachandra, they were killed by the Supreme Lord, but none of them received liberation. Okay. So the first point that he says is, before Krishna, Mukti was not freely given. Okay. Then he says, demons never got liberation. Okay. Demons never got liberation. Okay. Then he says that very few got, forget about liberation, very few got even prema. Okay. He says, and pure devotional service was given to no one but Prahlad Maharaj, who received it from the incarnation of Narasimhadev. Narasimhadev came, performed his pastimes. How many people became pure devotees? Prahlad Maharaj, 1. Okay. So we will go to the next verse, of course. So he says, Kalanemi was killed by the Lord of Vaikuntha during a battle between demigods and demons. Hiranyaksha was killed by Varaha, Hiranyakashipu by Narasimha, Ravana, Kumbhakarna by Ramachandra. The other Daityas and Rakshasas were killed by many of the incarnations. Nonetheless, we know that upon being killed by the Lord, none of them attained liberation, since history records that they all took birth again. Right? If Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu did get liberation, then why did they appear as Ravana and Kumbhakarna? If they attained liberation, why did they appear as Shishupal and Dantavakra? Of course, you may say that, oh, because they had the benediction from the Lord that for 3 births they will take birth and fight. But even otherwise, considering actually the forms of Narasimha and Ramachandra and the other forms, even amongst all the avatars, actually 3 are called as Paravastha forms, very superior forms: Narasimha, Rama and Krishna. And of the 3, actually Krishna is said to be incomparably superior, right? So therefore, even if they were not, even if the Lord was not bound by that 3 births criteria, but still Hiranyakashipu he may have achieved a higher destination, but never liberation, right? So, like that, of course, there is a lot of description of this. I will just skip. We don't have time. And then he says, and even when Lord Ram appeared, he bestowed pure devotion only upon a few, like whom? Like Guha, Hanuman, Jambavan, Vibhishana, Dasharatha, and the blessed Sugriva. Okay. Where if Narsingadev offered prema only to Prahlad Maharaj, then Lord Ramachandra offered to few people. But even in that prema, you see, he says, but in relation to those devotees, we never hear of prema, the utmost stage of pure devotion. You know, that intensity of love that you see in the devotees of Krishna, that you never see in the devotees of Lord Rama. Right? So I will quickly have to skim through this. We don't have time to go through the purports, even though there are many beautiful insights in the purport. So he says, but now so many persons have been granted liberation. They have been made devotees and filled with pure prema, all by your maternal cousin, Krishna. So many people have become, they have received pure devotional service, pure prema. And not only that, and by the power of his glory, demons fit for hell have become mortal after being slain by him or by such companions as Arjuna. They have become immortal. Even in this material world. Okay. So he gives the examples of many demons. From infancy, Krishna killed many demons, beginning with the witch Putana. Then subsequently, Arjuna and other devotees killed Karna, Duryodhana, who are like partial demons. Then like that. Otherwise, the demons were candidates for punishment in hell because they were active opponents of the Vaishnavas. But despite being destined for hell, by the transcendental influence of Shri Krishna, they obtained liberation. Okay, and then the Bhagavatam gives a list of people who were who achieved such kind of liberation. Okay, and then he says, not only that, even thoughtful sages like Vishwamitra, Gautama, and Vashishta were intent on austerities, mantra meditation, and spiritual knowledge. They had various goals in life, but while they were on pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, Shri Krishna mercifully inspired them to pray to him for pure devotion. Thus, they obtained it and became fully dedicated to his devotional service. It is mentioned that these sages, Vishwamitra, Gautama, Vashishta, they were like great sages. They lived for a very long time when multiple incarnations came and went. They were there when Lord Ramachandra was there, when Narasimhadev was there, all of them. But when all these incarnations came and went, they never went to them and asked for prema. But when Krishna appeared, they went to Kurukshetra and they met Krishna at Kurukshetra and requested for prema, because only Krishna could attract that kind of love from their heart, and they got it. Okay, so he's giving, various examples. Okay, and he says that Krishna is so great that even immobile creatures like trees and creepers have become pure devotees. When Narsingadev came, one human being became. When Lord Ramchandra came, few human beings. When Krishna came, demons became immortal. Demons got liberation. And the immobile creatures like trees and creepers, they have become pure devotees. Of course, he's not talking about those in Vrindavan. The trees and creepers of Vrindavan are no doubt pure devotees. Okay, they are no doubt pure devotees. But as Kunti Maharani says, Ime Janapada Suvriddha Supak Paushadi Viruda Vanadri Nadyudanmanto Hyedante Tava Vikshitahi. She says that the trees and plants in Hastinapur, they are actually becoming prosperous by your glance. Okay, they are responding to Krishna's glance, which means they have also become devotees. Okay, like that. There are, okay, and I don't want to go into this. Then he says, Then Narada Muni says, how can I properly glorify Krishna's infinite beauty, effulgence, and charm? It is so beautiful. Not only is Krishna attractive, but Krishna's Leela, Krishna's Guna, Krishna's Prema, everything is supremely attractive, he says. Okay. And then he says, if Krishna had not descended, then people would have had an incomplete understanding of what is the full potency of Bhagavatta or Krishna, the absolute truth's power and sweetness. All the incarnations came, they actually showed to some extent the strength, the beauty, and the charm, the qualities, and the sweetness of the absolute truth. But till Krishna came, none of these were displayed to the fullest extent. But now that Krishna has descended, the world has for once seen what is the full extent of the absolute truth, sweetness, strength, power, charm, beauty, everything, right? His complete splendor. And then he says, Krishnasya karunya katastu dure tasya prashasyo batanigrahopi kamsadaya kaliya putanadya balyadaya pragapi sakshinotra. He says, even Krishna's punishments are very praiseworthy. What to speak of Krishna's kindness? Krishna's kindness is definitely praiseworthy, but Krishna's punishments are also praiseworthy, like that. And then he gives the example of Kamsa, Kaliya, Putana, like that. Of course, this is a very long purport, but this is a very sweet purport that Srila Sanatana Goswami writes. But unfortunately, we are out of time, because it will be very inappropriate if I don't take even one discussion point or question. So I think, there are so many slides which I am very, I'm just skipping. So I am sorry. So I think I have to pause here and see if there are any quick discussion points, questions. And sorry, I've taken too much of your time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, what a beautiful class. Certainly you are, Prabhu, when you talk of Krishna, you are non-stoppable, and that is very good. So much nectar coming out. But I think we can't handle that much nectar, Prabhu. Such a beautiful class. I was writing the notes, writing the points. So many beautiful points, Prabhu. Certainly, the protector and the perfect husband is Krishna. That's you showed with your class. You talked on this beautiful day of Bhaimi Kadashi here, Prabhu, and you talked about appearance of Lakshmi and how glorious it is. And when you were talking, it seemed like we were walking same with the Mother Lakshmi at that moment. She's thinking about his Samayar, the selection of the groom. So such a beautiful class, Prabhu. And I loved Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commentaries. They're amazing, Prabhu. Like, you can continue listening to them. Like, as a devotee, it's so beautiful to listen to them just. And certainly the importance of dust of lotus feet of Krishna, which is smeared with kumkum of the Gopi's chest. So such amazing class, Prabhu. And loved your story of Brihad Bhagavatam of Narada Muni looking for greatest devotee. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for enlightening on that too. And certainly at the last talk about the supremacy of Krishna and the glories of Krishna Prem, which even the trees are having Krishna Prem. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful class, and thank you for your service. Anuja Mataji has a question. Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Mataji.
For the beautiful class. Prabhu, my question was, you told us about how Krishna made so many devotees, which is so true. But then what about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Didn't he make a lot of devotees, and even the animals of the forest where he had traveled became, had Krishna Prem? So don't we count Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into this?
Yeah, unfortunately, Narada in Braja, it didn't continue.
Okay, that's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful manifestation of Krishna. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. That's all. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Sureshwar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very
Hare
much
Krishna.
for a very, very, very wonderful class. So many nice aspects and explanations, Prabhu. So, Prabhuji, I have two questions, Prabhu. In Samudra Manthan pastime, when you said, when Lakshmi ji is, delineating all the different living, all the entities, right? And now she's saying, okay, there is some fault here. Instead of, she could have directly, glorified Lord Vishnu, right, Prabhu? I'm just trying to see what's the two ways of doing it.
Well, I mean, otherwise, how would you understand that you can never ever compare ordinary jivatmas to ordinary jivatmas to the Supreme Lord, unless you find some faults in them. Unless you find obvious faults in jivatmas which are absolutely not there in the Supreme Lord, in order to create the contrast, unwillingly that kind of fault finding has to be done, and the Shastras do it.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
But like sometimes, we see Brihaspati and we glorify Uddhava.
Otherwise, if that is not done, one may say, oh, anyway, she is the eternal consort, so she is just glorifying Vishnu. Okay, no doubt, she is the eternal consort and she would have anyway chosen Lord Narayana only. But the point is, you should also establish it based on merit and how he's more meritorious, unless an obvious comparison is made. That merit cannot be established, and you will say that, oh, anyway, she is just the eternal wife, that's why she is choosing like that. So Lord Narayana can be glorified, but unless that glory is compared to other living entities who had also assembled there for witnessing that or participating in that Samudra Manthan, so then how is it that otherwise, for every wife, her husband will seem like the most beautiful, most compassionate, and all that. But from an objective point of view, a comparison has to be made, and that comparison is made here, so that the supremacy of Lord Vishnu is established.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Like we say Brihaspati, we glorify Uddhava being the disciple of Brihaspati, right, Prabhu? So
yeah,
now we see Brihaspati has so many.
That is actually it is not a glorification of Uddhava. To say that Uddhava is the disciple of Brihaspati is not a glorification of Uddhava actually, because Uddhava is actually more advanced. He's a Nitya Parshada, whereas a Brihaspati is not. So in the body of Uddhava, there is one of the Vasus who had taken shelter of the body of the Nitya Parshada Uddhava. So it can be a glorification of him, that Vasu, that he is a disciple of Brihaspati. But for the Nitya Parshada Uddhava, I mean, it's not a glorification, and it is not true also. The eternal associate Uddhava is not a disciple of Brihaspati, and he has nothing to do with Brihaspati actually.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhu. One last question, Prabhu. Here we are saying Lakshmi Devi is offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, Kamadhenu or Rishikesha here, right, Prabhu? And
Kamadev.
Yeah. So who is a glorious husband, right? So now, like our connection with the Supreme Lord is on a Dasya platform, right, Prabhu? We don't consider the Supreme Lord to be our husband. We are praying on the Dasya platform to serve the Lord. That's it. We have. So how do we understand that? We are treating Lord as our husband, Prabhu. That is.
Husband means what? Protector.
Okay, from that perspective.
Yeah. Husband means one who protects. So after marriage, husband is the protector. Before marriage, father is the protector. So basically, when we are talking about husband, it means the one who is capable of giving protection. Rakshishyati iti vishwaso. having full faith that Krishna will protect me. That's all. It's not
Thank you.
literally husband.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Beautiful, beautiful class. And, you don't get tired glorifying the Lord, and, Lord's glories are eternal. They are ever ending. And I wish the time should be like eternal. you were, always looking at the clock, the time is getting over. So, but, I wish we could hear more from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So true. We all wish we could hear more from Prabhuji. Prabhuji always says, and then he says, and Prabhuji always says, and then he explains. And I'm like, okay, now there's a new story going on. And then he says, and that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dear devotees, if nobody has any further questions, we can pay obeisances to Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Let's pray our obeisances to Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class again. You always just dip us into the Krishna Prema whenever you come to us, Prabhuji. So please give us your association again in the future, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Let us pay our obeisances to Prabhuji, dear devotees. Vancha kalpataru vasyacha sindhuve vacha anam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ji ki His Grace Balaram Shakti Prabhu ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Such a beautiful class.
Prabhuji,
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Bless us, Prabhuji, on this Ekadashi. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.